Welcome to Baby Boomer Tales. My name's Jim. You can find us at our webpage, babyboomertales.com. Once you've landed there, you can find links to our Facebook page, links where you can hear our podcast. You can buy our book from Amazon by a link on our webpage. Our Boomers General Store, our Shop Tales at Amazon, pictures of north central Colorado Rocky Mountains and northeastern Kansas, and even pictures of me. Yesterday, he hauled my old tractor away. We took a picture of me and it to remember her by. We loaded her up onto a trailer along with the brush hog and the blade, and he drove out of my hay meadow up onto the driveway, and then he turned right at the county road, and that's the last I could see of her because of the cornfield there, and she was gone. Our song of the week is Country Comfort, released in 1970 by Elton John, written by Elton John and Bernie Taupin, and it was on their album Tumbleweed Connection. This album was influenced by music from Big Pink, since Elton had not ever been in the United States yet. And so the feel of it, of being American country, was all influenced by the band. There were no singles released in the United States of songs from this great album. Some of the great songs were Ballad of a Well-Known Gun, Where To Now St. Peter, Burn Down the Mission, of course Country Comfort, and It's Good Old Country Comfort in My Bones, just the sweetest sound my ears have ever known. "27 years ago, we bought our land out here. It's about 25-30 miles from the suburbs of the Kansas City area. It's in northeastern Kansas. 26 years ago, we moved into our new house out here. The first year we owned it, we tried mowing some with a self-propelled hand mower, and right away I saw that that mower was just too small to handle the amount of property we had purchased. But we mowed little spaces so we could have picnics and camped out here and stuff, and it was okay. When we moved into our home, even later that summer before we built the house, we had bought a 36-inch garden tractor with a mower on it. And that little thing had manual transmission. We had to shift gears. And it wasn't very big, but we all of a sudden could mow more grass. And my wife started mowing. She mowed all the time out here. She came out all the time mowing. We had a little lean-to shed that came with the property, and she parked it in there when she left for the day. Well, as the years went by, we bought bigger and nicer garden tractors. We got up to about a 48-inch garden tractor, and that was fine, but they were just not heavy enough to mow my wife's yard. Her yard started out at about an acre, and today her yard I would classify as being about 8 acres. That's a lot of lawn to keep up, maintain, and mow. Well, about 8 years ago, we bought what was called a zero-turn radius lawnmower. It's one of those, it wasn't a little tractor anymore. It was a skid steer, for lack of a better description of it. You push on one stick or pull on another, and you could turn on a dime. And that zero-turn radius mower has lasted us longer than any other lawnmower we ever had out here. Well, the year we moved into our house, a friend of mine told me he saw a tractor for sale up kind of east of Lawrence, Kansas. So I went up there and looked at it. I knew we needed a tractor and what we call a brush hog, which is a mower, very heavy duty. It's not like a finish mower, but you can cut brush and very long grass with it. When I got up there, it was at a industrial building where I'm not sure, I can't remember what they manufactured in that building, but they had a lot of grounds around, and I asked them why they were selling it, and he said they had determined to job that landscaping out to a company. And so I was looking at it, and they gave me the price, and we came up with a deal, and I bought an Allis-Chalmers D17 diesel tractor, plus a brush hog, plus a blade I later used to either plow snow or grade my driveway. And I borrowed a truck and trailer from work, and I hauled it home. And every year I'd have to mow my hay meadows in the late summer, early fall, because the guy I had that would cut my hay would only do one cutting a year. He wouldn't do two. And that tractor was a very, very good tractor. It was a 1958 model, but it had been taken care of, and it served me very well for a lot of years. I only had to plow snow twice all the years we lived out here. Now I have four-wheel drive vehicles, and if the snow was pretty bad, you just get out with your four-wheel drive. But twice it had drifted and snowed so much that we had to plow ourselves out, and that old tractor started right in the dead of winter and did okay. 12 years ago, we built a barn, and I started parking my tractor in there, plus all the mowers we had. We used to park the mowers in our garage and park the tractors outside. And the garage got a little bit crowded. It's a pretty good sized garage, but we had two riding lawnmowers in there, and it was just too crowded. So everything went over to the barn, and that was a good place for my tractor. That was a wonderful tractor. I don't know if you're familiar with an Allis-Chalmers, but they're orange, and this thing had a lot of power, 63 horsepower, but it also was diesel, so it had that strength of a diesel motor. We took pictures of the grandchildren on it. I still have some of those hanging up here in my office. When my daughter Allie was getting ready to get married, we had the wedding out here, and I was using the tractor to cut a bunch of stuff, trying to make the place pretty, and I got too close to a stump. I knew the stump was there. I ran over it, and what it did is it bent the power takeoff arm on it, and I thought, well, I'll just go down and get another one at the tractor store, and it was a special order product. And so what am I going to do now? This wedding's coming up, and I have work to do. So I ended up buying a new brush hog, and we sold the old one on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or something. It sold right away, and I would have never got rid of it except that I had to have another brush hog. Because there are things out here that you just almost need that a lawnmower just doesn't take care of. When you live out in the country, you really do need a good tractor. Well, about 7-8 years ago now, I got some new folks cutting my hay, and they do 2 cuttings a year, so I don't have to go out there with my tractor and cut in the fall. They do a good job for me. They're honest. I make a little money off of it. It blesses them and blesses me, and that's a good thing. But every fall, I would go over to the other side of the pond and take my brush hog off and put my blade on just in case I needed to plow snow that winter, and park that tractor. When all the cutting was done, I'd park it there in the barn and start it up again in the spring and take it over the other side of the pond. Take the blade off, put the brush hog on, I'd be ready for summer. Well, about 3 or so years ago, I went over there, switched it all out, drove it back, parked it in the barn. A few days later, I was over there, and there's fuel on the floor. And I started looking, I couldn't figure it out. Looked and I looked. Finally, I started the tractor up, and I found the source of it. The fuel injector pump was leaking. Well, I called this shade tree mechanic farmer friend of mine, told him what was going on. He had done a few things on my tractor over the years. So he came over, he started turning a bolt, and next thing I know, it broke something inside that fuel injector pump, and my tractor sat there for the next 3 years. See, it cost about $1,000 just to get those pumps rebuilt, and I knew it was above my pay grade to do it myself, to take it off, send it off, put it back on. And so I had a guy that did that for a living go around the farms and fix tractors on property. And that cost another couple thousand for him to come and pull it off and $1,000 to rebuild it. So I'm looking at $3,000 for this old tractor that I barely was using anymore. So that poor old tractor sat there, and it sat there, and it sat there, and it sat there. Well, this spring I decided I've got to find this tractor a home. Now, if you know anything about me, if you listen to this podcast, you know that I'm a very sentimental type of guy, and I wanted to find it a good home. I didn't just want somebody to take it off and strip it down for parts or park it in a hay meadow, let it rot, or any of that stuff. And I had several people looking at it, and people tried to talk me down and stuff. Finally, I put the price down to where I thought it might sell. And I asked God Almighty for somebody that would love that tractor as much as I have to come by and buy it. Well, this guy named Phil got a hold of me on Marketplace. And through our conversation back and forth, we decided to have him come out and take a look at it. And I put a deal on the whole thing that if you bought the tractor, I'd sell the brush hog at a discount price. He came out. He told me he had an Allis-Chalmers D17 just like that, but he had a farm down South Kansas, and he did need a second tractor. Well, when the dust cleared, he bought the tractor, the brush hog, and the blade, and he asked me if he could fix it there in my barn. Of course, I said yes, and through the next 2 weeks, Phil and I became friends. I helped him a little bit, but that guy, it gets hot in that barn. And he sat there and he worked on it and worked on it and worked on it. Got that injector pump pulled, got it rebuilt, brought it in, put it back on the tractor. And through all this, he's telling me a story about this family that he knows, that he's become very close with their kids, and his wife and him are socially active and go to church with this family, and the guy needs a tractor, so he decided he's just going to offer the guy the tractor for whatever he had in it. Now, you have to remember, if I was selling that tractor where it just ran like a kitten, you know what I mean? It had been quite a bit more money than what I sold it to Phil for. So all his time and efforts and energy, that was just his gift to that family. Well, yesterday, he had it all fixed, and he brought his trailer down, and him and I went over and got the blade out of behind the shed. That blade was heavy. 2 old farts, he's 72 and I'm 75, but we got it loaded. We got that tractor loaded and tied down. We promised each other we'd get together with the wives and maybe go out to dinner, let the wives get to know each other. He told me and I told him that we had made a friend. He took some pictures of me with my tractor. You can see one of those pictures on my Facebook page, Baby Boomer Tales. Got in his truck, and he drove off. I watched him as far as I could watch him, but that corn got in the way. Farmer next door to me, he grows corn every other year. The other year is soybeans. Well, the corn's wonderful and all. We get a lot of deer over there eating it. A lot of raccoons too. But the downside is, when I leave the house, I look back, make sure I close my garage door. I can't see it the years the corn's growing because the corn is too tall. Well, last night I texted him, asked him if he got home okay. He said he did. Sent me a couple more pictures and made me smile. I'm glad I found a good home for that tractor. They named her Alice. He was a little shocked when I told him I didn't have a name for it, but I've never been one to name things as attached as I get. If it's not a living, breathing thing, I don't name it. I don't name my cars, my trucks, or my tractors. I wanted to name this property at one time, and I just never got around to it. Well, I don't need a tractor anymore. We're kind of downsizing now. I don't know how many more years we'll live out here even, but I want to be prepared that if we ever decide to sell it, that we'll have a lot of this stuff gone. It's funny, my heart breaks and it's full all at the same time when I can give something or sell something at a good value or make sure somebody gets something that needs it and will take care of it. Always be kind. It's really the best way to live. It really is. I'll be back next Wednesday. Stay on the sunny side. Peace out.